host, Sabrina Salvati.
All right. Happy Tuesday, guys. Welcome to Sabby Sabs podcast. I'm your host, Sabrina Salvati, and I have a special guest with me tonight as well. I'll have another guest at 7:30, but I want to introduce to you Elena. So Elena was one of my students. I was her academic advisor, and she's here tonight to share some special news. So Elena, welcome, and nice to see you.
Hi, Sabrina. Thank you. And hello to everyone who is watching. Thank you so much for having me. And if you allow me, Sabrina, you know that, but I want to express that publicly as well. I'm a big fan of your podcast, and thank you for addressing all the issues that need to be addressed. I truly believe if we don't talk about what's going on in our lives, if we don't talk about what's going on in society, there's not going to be true change. So thank you. I'm honored to be here.
Oh, thank you so much. So for those just tuning in, Elena and I go way back pretty much. I can't believe it's been a couple of years since you graduated now. But I was Elena's academic advisor, and I know that you went into marketing after you graduated, but you are now starting your own business. And I want you to explain to everyone, first and foremost, why did you decide to start your own business and a little bit about what your business is about?
Yeah, absolutely. So yes, everything started as a passion. My passion is skincare. And at the same time, I found out about a family secret recipe. My great grandmother was making her own soap at her village in Peloponnese. And I was so lucky to find out the recipe. I traveled actually to the village and I talked to the locals. They shared with me the soap. They shared with me how they make the soap. And they were making it with the purest and simplest ingredients. And quite frankly, they didn't need anything else. So that inspired me. And at the same time, I found that there is, a gap in the Greek, but also in the US market for clean Greek skincare that comes from Greece with Greek ingredients, but at the same time is sustainable, vegan, cruelty-free, does not contain toxic chemicals, is transparent about fragrances and what we put, on our skin, on our bodies. And that's how I started Soma and Soul. And Soma is the Greek word for body, because ancient Greeks believed that if you take care of your body, you take care of your mind, you take care of your soul.
Wonderful. Awesome. I always tell people, if you can go into business for yourself, please do so. I know not everyone can do that, but if you can, definitely try that out. I do want to share your flyer here because you have an event coming up for your business, and that is going to be local to those of us here in Massachusetts. So I do want to share the flyer here. So it says, join us for the launch of the first clean Greek skincare, Soma Soul. And this is Saturday, June 25th, 12 p.m. to 3 p.m. in Revere, Massachusetts. You want to talk a little bit about this?
Yes, I am very excited to launch with 4 products. And at that event, we will have the products for everyone to try on the spot and also buy on the spot. And of course, we're going to have some Greek cocktails. So, hey, that's the best combo. So we are launching with 4 products, as I said, with our Astrea makeup remover that has olive oil and mastic oil. So it purifies you, but also keeps you hydrated. So every time you remove your makeup, you don't have to run to your moisturizer. The second product is our face mask. It contains cucumber water and pumpkin oil. So that is for hydration, but also anti-aging, because pumpkin oil has anti-aging properties. And then the 2 other products are 2 body oils. One body oil is only specific for summer and is actually called Greek Summer, is inspired by my Greek summers. And it's a very shimmering, glowing, glittery oil that you can wear at the beach or at night. And the last product, Flora, is our body oil for winter. I mean, Sabrina, you know, our winters here in Massachusetts are dry. So we definitely need a hydrating body oil. And I'm very excited to share all these products with everyone. It's a free event. So please come by, say hi, try our products. I'll be there waiting for everyone.
So, Elena, I do want to ask you for people who may be wondering, because I've heard from other people as well, they're interested in like starting their own business, but they already have a full-time job. Can you explain to everyone how you were able to do that? Because I think the biggest problem, or one of the big problems, is just time management. Like, how do you start another business if you're also working a full-time job?
Yes, and that's actually one of the biggest challenges that I'm facing. I will be facing. I faced. So what keeps you going? It's the passion. My passion of having these products, creating something from the start is what kept me going. And of course, everybody around me. I was very lucky to have a very supportive family. And especially my mom back in Greece, she has been helping me with all the communications. So I think having people around you that they support you, but also having something that it's your passion, you will never, put it aside. You will always keep going.
Now, you went to grad school, and for those just tuning in, I was just telling everyone that I was Elena's academic advisor. What advice would you give to students today, like thinking about going to grad school, especially those who may have to take out student loans? What advice would you give to them? Do you think that they should go ahead and go to grad school if they're interested in starting their own business, or do you think this is something that they can do without going to grad school?
For me personally, grad school was a really great experience. I've met people that they have actually till today have helped me with my business. I have gotten knowledge that, is the foundation to start the business. There are specific things that you need to know. So for me, my advice is yes, go do it. You're not going to regret it. It's not just a piece of paper. You will get meaningful relationships out of it. You will learn a lot of things, and you will grow professionally and personally as well.
Yeah, I will tell people, Elena's cohort, they were very close. Like, you guys were a tight group, a close group. I do want to also ask, I know that you have dual citizenship, correct? If I remember correctly?
Correct. Yes. Yeah.
What is like the economic situation like in Greece compared to the United States right now?
So actually, that was the economic crisis in Greece was the reason why I left Greece when I was 17 and I came here. Right now, things are way better. Doing way better. Everybody's doing way better. However, we still have a lot of work to do. But I'm happy that to see my people, getting out of this economic crisis, and they're stronger, and they keep going.
Well said. No, it's good to know. I often tell my audience that a lot of like my students were international students. And I think like you were in a different situation because you had like dual citizenship, but you know this as well. Like a lot of the students like in your cohort and cohorts after, they were international students. And one of the biggest challenges that they had was finding a job here in the United States.
Yeah. I mean, even my sister, actually, I'm the only one in my family that has a double citizenship. My sister and my brother, they don't. And my sister just actually graduated from a university here in Rhode Island, and she doesn't have a citizenship. So I I talk with her, I see the struggle. But if you have the chance and if you have the option and you have a family that supports you to go and study and come to the United States and study, I think that you should definitely get this chance and do it.
Yeah, and there's something that you mentioned about having a strong support system, which I think is really important. You really need people around you to support what you're doing. And there are going to be people that tell you that this is probably not a good idea, or how are you going to do that? And you're doing something else too. There's always going to be naysayers. But I think what's important is to focus on the people who are being supportive of you and really want you to do this venture. So for people just joining in, I do want to share that flyer again. This event is taking place in Revere, Massachusetts. As Elena mentioned, this is a free event, and this will be June 25th. And it says, come try our products and enjoy complimentary Greek cocktails by, I am not going to attempt to pronounce this, Elena.
It's my really good friend, Vasilis Fasoulas. He is a really, really good bartender at Trade Restaurant, which is also a Greek restaurant here in Boston.
Thank you so much. And I do want to mention something about skincare. The thing that I like about this is that they're clean ingredients. And I do want to mention this because I know, and whether you're male or female, a lot of the skincare products that we have in our convenience stores, over the counter, etc., they don't have the safest ingredients. And you don't really realize that unless you actually read the ingredients on the back of the product. And some of them you may have to look up because you may not understand, like, what does that actually mean? But one of the things I've noticed that when you're trying to find skincare that has like natural or organic ingredients, they tend to be rather pricey. What would you say is the price point so far?
So it's true because the quality of the ingredient is way better. And usually when you also have clean ingredients, the packaging is most likely going to be glass. It's not going to be plastic. So yes, that might increase the cost. I tried for my products to make it reasonable for everyone to be able to buy, because I want people to be able to get this product, to be accessible to them. And about the clean beauty and the clean skincare movement is getting bigger and bigger now, and I'm very happy to see that. And actually in Greece, that term doesn't even exist. So every time I was going back to Greece, I had to carry all my clean products from the United States to Greece. So for me, introducing that also to Greeks, it's a huge step moving forward. And I think we need, as a community, to start talking about what are we putting on our bodies, what are we eating, why there are no regulations, like why there are more regulations in Europe, but there are no regulations here. Things like that, we need to start talking more about it.
Yes, I agree. One of the things I will note too is that some of these products that you notice, not necessarily Lena's products, but some of these products are only available online, the ones that are really good for your skin. And then even in those circumstances, I noticed a lot of times it could take like a month. If it's coming from another country, it could take like a month or so to get to the United States. So we really don't have a lot of clean skin products in this country. We really don't. Even some of the ones that claim that they're all natural, if you look at the ingredients, they actually are not all natural. That's the same thing for food too, by the way. If you look at a lot of the food products on the shelf in the United States, you look at the ingredients, you have to be very careful about these products that say that they're all natural. Because if you actually look at the ingredients, it's not all natural. So you have to be careful.
Correct. Natural and clean is not the same thing, because natural can have ingredients that they are toxic. So we need to be very careful. Read the labels in the back, especially there is a lot of documentaries. There are a lot of documentaries. There are a lot of articles about what ingredients you need to avoid as well.
And thank you for mentioning that to people, that natural and clean is not the same thing.
Yeah. It's not.
Because I think people hear these buzzwords and they think that, oh, this is 100% safe. And I'm like, well, no, if you look at the ingredients, it's not so much. So
yeah, unfortunately, we need to be very careful. But Sabrina, I want to mention something that you did. You said about that some people are going to tell you, oh, how are you going to do this? How are you going to make it work? I'm a big believer that if somebody tells you no, you are talking to the wrong person. If it is your passion, if it is what you want to do, if you really believe in it, if you have just five people believing in you, do it. And if they say no, you're talking to the wrong person.
yes. And you also have to believe in yourself, because you will have naysayers. I'm telling you guys, people have said things like that to me when I said I was moving to Boston to go to grad school. That's how I ended up here. And people told me there was a lot of negativity. It's cold there. Oh, how are you going to make it there? People are mean in Boston. You're going to take your car. Where are you going to park your car? You're not going to be able to afford to live there. Like, there was a lot of negativity when you might expect people to be very, I guess, happy for you. And then when you tell them that you have a new plan or a new idea, I think you'd be surprised how many people might just be really negative about it.
Yeah, but you keep going. You do you.
Absolutely. So, Elena, when can people start to purchase your products?
So after the event, and actually all the products are going to be in the United States. So there's not going to be a month, 2 month wait. Everything is going to be accessible. So after the event on the 29th, everybody can go online and purchase the products from the website.
Awesome. Elena, thank you so much. Again, I'm very proud of you. I mean, I knew there's always like one of those students, like there's a few students, a handful that they're just going to go on and do big things. And I always knew you were going to go on and do something huge. So I just want you to know I'm very proud of you and I wish you the best of luck.
Thank you, Sabrina. It means a lot. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Thanks so much. Talk to you later.
Bye, everybody. Thank you.
All right, guys. Thank you all for tuning in. Franco will be here at 7:30. We're going to get into information about Bilderberg 2022, which everyone needs to know about. But I did want you to hear from Elena, because if you're trying to start something new, whether it's a business, whether maybe you might be thinking about going back to school. I know some people have sent me emails about that. You just want to start something new. You are going to have people that are going to be against you. It's just the reality of the situation, right? But you can't let those comments and that negativity stop you from doing what you want to do, especially if you're really passionate about it. So I thought it was important for you to hear from someone who had that experience, but they kept going, and look at where she is now. So Elena was probably one of the best students we had. She's awesome. So I'm really proud of her. All right, guys, I do want to go ahead and give shout outs to people who are Sabby patrons. Let's go ahead and do that. All right. Thank you to everyone who's a Sabby patron. If you're interested and want to become one of the Sabbies, I have 5 categories: members, Sabbies, Sabsters, Sabinators, and Ultimate. All of their names are listed here. Thank you guys so much. I really do appreciate the support. And you can also see their names scrolling across the bottom of the screen as well. And I forgot to adjust the newbies. I announced these last night, but I'll announce them again tonight. New patrons are Sam Hollum, Mitchell Helt, Diego Perez, Vidal X Altec, and JB Caliph. Thank you. Thank you so much. And as I mentioned, you can also see their names scrolling across the bottom of the screen. So I do want to give shout outs to people in the chat, and then I'll tell you what we're going to be talking about tonight. There's a lot going on in the world. And I was like, how am I going to do all these stories in one show tonight? But we got to talk about it because these are important things that are happening. So let's go ahead and give shout outs to people here. Lucky Burrito says, it's really hard starting a small business. I'm doing it currently, and PayPal has held up my funds from orders. Let me comment about that really quick. Lucky, thank you so much for mentioning PayPal. Guys, if you're trying to donate, I would say more than $100 to someone via PayPal. I know I have PayPal as an option where you can donate to me. Most of you choose to do Patreon or actually some people do PayPal, but most of you end up doing like Patreon or like super chats and things like that. PayPal can hold up your funds. And we've actually had this happen with Rome's Tour for the Poor. This has been an issue where people will send hundreds of dollars for an event. We're trying to get goods and items to people to do mutual aid. And the money will just sit there and you can't remove it because PayPal will lock the funds and release it when they're ready to release it to you. So this is why I tell people a lot of times, if you can do so, especially for Tour for the Poor and mutual aid events, to donate to the Cash App instead or Venmo. And I know Rome has both of those options for Tour for the Poor. So thank you so much for mentioning that, because that is a problem. And I've only had that happen with PayPal. So if you guys have had that happen with Cash App or Venmo, let me know. But we haven't had that happen with those apps so far. I saw a couple of other shout outs here. What's going on? Colin says, yo, what's up? Colin is in the house. Oh, Lucky said they are holding up $20 payments. Oh, wow. Now I haven't had that happen. But yeah, PayPal is, if you're trying to get that money, you need it immediately. I recommend using Cash App or Venmo if you can. Sorry, I was going to some of the other chats here. Oh, Where Pilgrim, what's going on? Says, yes, saw the 17K threshold has been reached. Yeah, so I hit 17K. Whoop, whoop. Whoop, whoop. So yeah, I'm excited. Excuse me, my voice is messy today. I'm excited about that. I'm really pumped. Thank you guys so much for your support. Shout out to Hugo, who is also a Sabby member. Food manufacturers are getting sneaky with their labeling, LOL. Yes, they are. Like, this was something I noticed a while back. Like, some of these products in the grocery store that say 0 trans fats, fat free, some things that are fat free could be high in other things. Like, it could have a lot of sodium. Like, you never know. That's why you have to read the ingredients. That's important. I can tell you from example as well. If you're looking at these TV dinners that are like these, I guess you would call them the diet TV dinners, lean cuisine, healthy choice, they tend to be high in sodium. So if you are someone that has an issue with high blood pressure, you should be careful about consuming those types of frozen dinners. Because if you turn around the back of that package and you look at the sodium, I'm talking lean cuisine dinners that have like 600 milligrams of sodium. That's a lot. So that's how they make up for the taste factor. They cut the calories, but they add more sodium. So you're better off making your own food, bud. You are better off making your own food. Cloudy Skies Now says frozen dinners are the worst for salt. Yes. Yes. Roman says, don't fall for gluten-free ice cream. I have never had that, but that's an interesting one. I will not fall for that one, Roman. Couple more shout outs here, and I'll tell you what we're going to talk about tonight. Shout out to Angela, says, everyone do a Sabby. Whoop, whoop. Whoop, whoop. Shout out to Mariana, first time watching live from Brazil. It's really interesting to watch your videos and hear a very different perspective from what we see in mainstream media. Welcome, Mariana, and shout out to Brazil. All right. Yeah, mainstream media tends to leave some things out. Shout out to Laura Hansen, says, teach me, and I will learn. Shout out to Brent, says, I only voted one time in my 24 years of eligibility. Interesting, Brent. Interesting to hear. Shout out to Yipper99, says, I think you has to have 0.5 or less to be considered trans fat free. Also anything hydrogenated, anything is a trans fat. You see? Shout out to Joy, Google vegetarian dishes, so many yummy choices and easy peasy to cook. I'm obsessed with tempeh, stir fry. I haven't tried that yet. I've been told to, but I haven't tried it yet. All right, what are we talking about tonight, ladies and gentlemen? Let me go ahead and share my thumbnail. Whoopity whoop whoop. Okay. Tonight, I'm going to discuss Matt Taibbi free speech. So Matt Taibbi just released a new article about free speech and where Democrats and Republicans stand. I'm going to talk about that. That is an interesting article. I'm also going to discuss ELITES secret meeting. So you can see the people in this picture on the thumbnail. We have Peter Thiel, Kirsten Sinema, and that guy on the right next to Kirsten Sinema, that is Reid Hoffman. You may not be familiar with him, but you are going to learn a lot about him tonight and even his involvement in left independent media. So we're going to get into that. Also going to discuss AOC versus Congress. We're going to get into that discussion where AOC was pretty frank about her opinion of Congress. And Frank Analysis will be here in about 3 minutes. So Franco is actually going to join me to talk about this elite secret meeting because Franco was on the ground there in DC, and he has a couple of clips that I'm going to share as well about his experience with that. So that will be an interesting discussion. I guess tonight's topic is more so about money, with the exception with Matt Taibbi's story, although we can actually say that that's related to money as well, if you think about it. Shout out to Cecilia, says, hi, Sabs, love the red lip. Oh, thank you. It's a matte, which means it does not move. It does not move. All right, let me go ahead and... Oh, Lawrence, I missed you. Shout out to Lawrence, who's a Sabby member. Doobie doobie doo. Go Celtics. We'll see, Lawrence. I am nervous. I am very, very nervous. Angela goes, hi, everyone. Looks like a great show is planned, Sabby. Thank you so much. I hope so. I hope so. So while we're waiting for Franco to join, I'm going to go ahead and I want to play one of those clips from his time on the ground in DC. So for those who are not aware, over the weekend, there was a meeting. There was a meeting called Bilderberg 2022. And at this meeting, there were billionaires and for some strange reason, Kirsten Sinema. Why her? Not sure. Although I know she likes to fundraise. So Franco's going to come on and talk about that discussion, but Franco was there, and I want to show you this clip from Franco, and he posted this on Twitter, and this was Franco trying to get some information about this event and why it was so secret. So Franco posted, oh, I got to log back into TAIBBI and see. It logged me out. 1 second. Lefty. All right, so Franco posted this here, and he said, outside the Mandarin Oriental Hotel, where the Bilderberg group is meeting in secrecy. And he said he'll go live later to discuss what else he saw. And Franco just joined, so I'll go ahead and bring him in. Franco!
What's up, Sabby? Thanks for having me on.
Thanks so much for coming on.
Of course.
I'm just starting with this video that you have here. So I want to go ahead and play this.
Yeah.
But first and foremost, please introduce yourself, Franco, and let everyone know where they can find you.
Of course, yeah. You can find me on YouTube. My channel name is Frank Analysis. I'm also on Rockfin, Odyssey, and on Twitter you can find me at B43Franco.
Awesome, awesome. So Franco was on the ground. There was this Bilderberg 2022 event in DC at the Mandarin Hotel, and apparently they didn't want to let people in. So I'm going to play this clip, and then I'm going to go to you, Franco.
Okay. Hi. Do you know why everything's closed off? Do you know why everything is closed off?
I can't discuss that with you.
Why? Why not?
Because I can't.
Is there something in secret happening? Is there something in secret happening?
Which way?
Which way? I was just walking across here. This is usually where people normally walk across. Well, why are we not allowed this way anymore? Is there like a law or something that doesn't permit people to pass by this way.
You can go that way or that way, but I can't have you right here.
We're not allowed to know what's going on inside.
Are you staying here at the hotel?
I've stayed here before. Not right now, but
So I can't discuss anything with you. But if you want to go that way or that way.
so were you told
I'm
anything?
sorry.
Were you
Yes,
told?
This is my job.
Okay. So you have the right to tell people to leave?
I'm telling you, if you want to go that way or that way, you can go that way or that way, but there's no reason for you to stay here.
Do you work?
And ask me what's going on down here. That's none of your concern.
Do you work for the hotel or do you work for whoever is meeting here?
Radio check.
I mean, if you work for the hotel and you're asking me to leave, I can leave.
Yes, I already asked you to.
You work for the hotel?
Okay, Franco.
Yeah.
Not getting many answers from her, huh?
No. And then the second part of that video, she kept saying like, it's none of your concern, none of your concern. And then I told her, if there's people from positions in government that are meeting here with CEOs, heads of banking institutions, people from the military industrial complex, people from big pharma, they're meeting with all these people here. These are politicians that are supposed to represent us, right? So these politicians could be influenced by these people from the private sector and pass legislation that is going to directly affect me. And I told her, not only will this directly affect me, this will directly affect you and everybody that you care about. This does concern me, and this concerns everybody in the whole world. If there's politicians from all over the world that are meeting here, and the Bilderberg group, they put up a list of people that are meeting, that were meeting this year. And I have it here also, but I mean, I can send you the link and we can pull that up. But okay, so you have it there, yeah. So Stacey Abrams is also like an organizer for this event. That should be mentioned. Kirsten Sinema, who people can remember recently, she was making a lot of the news on independent media because she voted against raising the minimum wage. I remember she had that video where she gave like the thumbs down. She didn't want the minimum wage to be increased. Why is she meeting with people like Eric Schmidt, who's the CEO and chairman of Google? We have Albert Burla, who's the chairman of Pfizer. What's Pfizer doing meeting with people from the intelligence community? William Burns, the director of the CIA. We have Ben Van Beurden, who's the CEO of Shell. We also had Christia Freeland.
Franco.
Yeah.
I'm gonna highlight them as you mentioned. There's one I want to point out, but I'm gonna find that Van
Beurden.
Van Beurden.
Oh yeah, it's with the B. Its last name is the B. Yeah, I'm trying to go as alphabetically in order as I can.
Oh, right here.
Yeah.
Okay.
CEO of Shell. Meeting with the director of intelligence, right? William Burns there. If you scroll down a little bit to H, you see Reid Hoffman was there, who I just talked recently with. Indie Left News. Shout out to INN. They just released a great article exposing how Reid Hoffman funded Crystal Ball's People's House Project PAC.
Oh yeah, Franco. I have some receipts to show about that tonight. I'm glad you brought him up.
But yeah, I mean, he was there. Henry Kissinger is there. If you scroll, yeah, he's right there, right? Henry Kissinger. I'm sure a lot of people in your audience know who he is. He's He's the former Secretary of State of the U.S. He's been involved with a lot of coups around the world. The Prime Minister of Finland, Sanna Marin, if you scroll down to M, right? The Prime Minister of Finland was there. People from Sweden were also there. This is shortly after there was a lot of reports of NATO trying to recruit Finland and Sweden. I mean, are they having discussions about how Sweden and Finland are going to join NATO? I mean, this would be a major influence on what happens in that region there by the Black Sea with Russia and all these other Eastern European countries. We had the King of Netherlands. So if you go down, yeah, he's right there. And N, King of Netherlands was there. Eric Schmidt from Google, if you go to S. And then you see Kirsten Sinema down there too, as well.
Whoops.
Senator
So here's Eric Schmidt. I don't know why I highlighted all of them. There's Eric Schmidt. And then here's Kirsten Sinema. And she appears to be the only politician on the list.
Right. I think there may be some former politicians, but there are international politicians, right? We have the Prime Minister from the Netherlands, the Prime Minister from Finland. Mm-hmm. So the discussions here with the intelligence from the US, these representatives from NATO, the CEOs from US corporations, could all this influence the policies that get passed in those countries? Right? Are they, if it's in secret, I'm sure the citizens of their country don't know what's being discussed here and how that could influence their lives.
Also, Peter Thiel.
Yeah.
And I don't know if everyone's familiar with him, but he's another one, billionaire.
Yeah, he funds Rumble. He played a key role in the initiation of Facebook. He was the co-founder of PayPal along with Elon Musk. He's also the founder of Palantir, which is a technologies company, and is right now focused on AI. There is a lot of people there focused on AI.
Can we point out the fact that Nadia Shadlow, who's a senior fellow at the Hudson Institute, is on here? And Indy Left talked about the Hudson Institute. It's a think tank. It's the same one that Sagar and Marshall from Breaking Points are also a part of the Hudson Institute.
There are so many. I just saw that because there's so many people on that list that I'm focusing on like the other names, and then I'm seeing this. But yeah, revisiting this list can show us like all these interesting characters that have connections with many people from the news. Microsoft Corporation, right? Microsoft has its hands in MSNBC and other corporations. So these are people that can have a major influence on what is put out there in mainstream news. There were representatives there from mainstream news. We see there Minton Bedos Zani, the editor-in-chief of The Economist. So there were people from mainstream news, but they weren't there to report on what was being discussed. They were there because they're part of the secret meetings.
Yep. Eric, can you put the link to this website in the chat so people can look at this on their own as well? Because I haven't seen mainstream media report about this.
Absolutely not. No.
Not yet. And I know Max Blumenthal was also there on the ground too, but this is very concerning. I'm seeing the CEO of Shopify, Volvo Group is here. Like this, what the hell? Like, what are they planning? So let's go up to the top and I'm going to tell people what it says here about the description. It's a lot of people. 2022 Bilderberg meeting participant list. The following press release and participants list was obtained from the official website of Bilderberg meetings. Participant list from nearly every Bilderberg meeting since 1954 are also available, along with the collection of thousands of pages of internal Bilderberg correspondence and meeting reports. And then one thing I do want to point out about this list, you notice Kirsten Sinema's on this list. She's a Democrat senator. There are also right-wing people on this list, which points out what I've said before. At the end of the day, it's not about left versus right. It's about money.
Yeah.
And all these people on here have money. So you see how they're able to do bipartisanship when there's money involved, but they tell us we need to pick a party?
Yeah. Yeah. It's all a puppet show. The Democrats and Republicans, at the end of the day, they're serving the same lobbyists. So anything that they get passed legislatively is going to be because it benefits the pockets of their donors. It's never going to be to benefit us. They want the issues of abortion and gun control to be at the forefront in mainstream news to keep people divided and distracted debating this stuff. But yeah, I mean, more people are starting to discuss the World Economic Forum, which is, you know, more public, in which a lot of these elites, a lot of the same figures that were listed here gather to meet and discuss in public in Davos, and they have all these panels in front of people, and they discuss how they want the world to be transformed. Their ideas of benefiting society include expanding venture capitalism, having more surveillance, having centralized a centralized banking system that's based in digital currency. There's so many other things, but the thing is, the difference with the World Economic Forum and the Bilderberg Group meetings is that the World Economic Forum meetings are done in public, and
Yep.
so if it's the same figures here, and we have more individuals that go to the World Economic Forum meetings. There's about like 2,500 people from government and corporate positions that come to meet at the World Economic Forum. These are heads of state, CEOs, heads of banking institutions, mainstream media representatives. They're probably receiving the talking points from whoever goes to meet at the Bilderberg Group meetings to see what is okay to discuss in the public. And meanwhile, all the other stuff that they have planned for transforming the world it remains a secret at these meetings. I mean, what could they be discussing? Like, they could be discussing like how they manage oil prices, what biosecurity technologies gets passed. If we have Pfizer there, I mean, they could be discussing how they can influence public health. And these are private institutions, so they're going to be discussing how they can benefit off of this at the expense of us, the working class people. It's really creepy. We have a right to know what they're discussing in those meetings.
Yes, absolutely. Guys, I just want to remind you, go ahead and hit that like button. Don't forget to do that. I want to highlight this part right here about public intelligence. Again, this is still on the Bilderberg website. Public intelligence is an international collaborative research project aimed at aggregating the collective work of independent researchers around the globe who wish to defend the public's right to access information. You guys see what's happening here? Why isn't has anybody else talked about, like, tell me in the chat if you know, has anybody else talked about this?
So I found out about this through Max Blumenthal had his video up, so that was the first time I saw it. But before that, Jason Burmis had made a video talking about how he had heard from some connections that the Bilderberg meeting is happening in DC at the Mandarin Orient Hotel, and he has a documentary discussing more about the Bilderberg Group. It's called Shade the Motion Pictures. I recommend people check that out. But Max Blumenthal went there on the ground, and when he went there was only one other journalist, and that was Josh Friedman, he doesn't have that big of a following, but it's great that he was there taking pictures, reporting on what he's seeing. He talked to some people that were there, and the regular folks that live around that area, because there's apartments and hotels and stuff, they're just saying that they see people coming in and out with suits and ties, but they don't really know much of what's going on inside. But they have seen like the gates go up. I talked to a CVS security person that was outside across the street, and she said that they had the parking spaces reserved for a couple days. It was until Monday, yesterday, that they had those parking spaces reserved. But why all the secrecy and the high security that's set there, as you saw in that video, right?
Right. And I want to give a shout out to Lucky Burrito. I just saw in the chat that she covered it as well. Like, this is why, see, again, I haven't seen big channels cover this yet.
Oh, yeah. Shout out to Kim Iverson, too. She covered it on The Hill.
She did? Okay.
Yeah, yesterday.
I double check that. But it's just like everyone should be talking about this. Everyone should be talking about this. And I want to point out for those who just joined that Kyrsten Sinema was on the list as a participant. So she was there, and Kyrsten Sinema does not have a high administrative or whatever role in Congress. She's a senator, but it's not like she's like, Nancy Pelosi or someone like that. She's not a high ranking politician. So why is she at this event? Instead of seeing someone, you'd expect to see someone like Nancy Pelosi there or Chuck Schumer. No, Kyrsten Sinema's there. So who's she really working for?
That's a great question. And it's random, too. I had the same question. Why her out of all the other senators? Why Kyrsten Sinema, who was in the headlines a lot recently, along with Joe Manchin, when they were preventing the Build Back Better Act from getting through, even though the Build Back Better Act isn't even that great of a bill. And it's a blueprint for the World Economic Forum. Their a tagline that they use is also "Build Back Better." I mean, there's a compilation video showing all these world leaders that say "Build Back Better," from Justin Trudeau, Joe Biden, Boris Johnson, and all these people. But yeah, looking at that bill, we see that it aligns with a lot of the stuff that these figures wanna get passed in order to transform the world. Which includes having more venture capitalism. That's not going to be to the benefit of the working class people at all.
No, it's not. I want to shout out. This is from. Thank you for this super chat, Net Rondo. Stacey Abrams is a Bilderberger and Council on Foreign Relations Fellow. So even Stacey Abrams is a part. This.
Yeah. Oh, people that live in her district and Kyrsten Sinema's district, if you guys see her around, you guys should ask them what was discussed in that meeting, because you guys as their constituents have a right to know, because this could influence their policy making.
Exactly. A kid is mentioning the World Economic Forum. Sabby and Franco, how secretive can WEF be? Is the meetings, if the meetings are held and catered in a regular hotel, you would think agenda talking points would be leaked. But their meetings aren't secret, though. Like, we knew, like, when the World Economic Forum was happening, like, that was announced. It was covered by mainstream media, too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the press reports on what's discussed there, and they try to spin it as it's something good that they're doing, something really noble. How they're trying to tackle climate change, but the way they want to tackle climate change is through more capitalism and focusing more on the individual, like how you can manage your carbon footprint, but not focusing on the corporations and the damage that they're causing. And they still want to destroy the environment by seeking out these resources for their technology that they're going to use to build these smart cities and for more surveillance and all that, and for biotechnologies that they're developing.
Agreed.
But
Agreed.
Yeah.
I want to mention something too about Peter Thiel, and then I want to show your other video as well. Peter Thiel, isn't he the one that? Wasn't he one of the people that believes in that great replacement theory?
I'm not sure about if he believes in the great replacement theory. It wouldn't surprise me, though. It wouldn't surprise me if he's racist. But he was a. Let me see what I have here. He's a co-founder of PayPal along with Elon Musk. He helped kickstart Facebook, and when it was a prototype, it was going to serve as a surveillance website. They use these social media websites to collect data from people, and Whitney Webb has wrote about this. That's what Palantir is. Palantir Technologies tries to use these technologies to try to predict where crime will be. And so they'll be like, oh, there's going to be a lot of crime happening that way. Let's send more police over there. It's absolutely ridiculous. It's going to target a lot of black and brown communities. As far as his involvement with media right now and controlling narratives, I just know that he is funding Rumble right now. What else? I can't remember if he funded The Intercept, but that wouldn't surprise me.
Okay, let me show you what I just found out about him, because this is troubling. So apparently he was a Trump supporter. So it's interesting, like some of these. So Kirsten Sinema can go collaborate with Trump supporters, but we can't have a march for Medicare for all with conservatives. This is hilarious to me. It says here, billionaire venture capitalist and Facebook board member Peter Thiel is apologizing for comments published more than 20 years ago that conveyed his views on sexual assault and race. The name of the book is called The Diversity Myth: Multiculturalism and Political Intolerance on Campus. This is by Peter Thiel, 1995. Oh boy.
And this ties in with Palantir Technologies and what they're focused on, which is pre-crime, predicting where they're going to see more crimes, targeting black and brown communities, similar to how Bloomberg had his stop and frisk policies and how he's involved with technologies. He's also a part of this club. I wouldn't be surprised if he's been on one of these Bilderberg meetings lists in the past.
This is what he said, you guys. Like, this is really troubling. Listen to this. Peter Thiel said, he wrote in this book that the definition of rape and wrongly been extended to seductions that are later regretted. They also noted that the purpose of the rape crisis movement seems as much about vilifying men as about raising awareness. He said on race and diversity, the pair wrote that, so it was him and another person, the pair wrote that real diversity requires a diversity of ideas, not simply a bunch of like-minded activists who resemble the bar scene from Star Wars.
What the heck? These are the kind of people that are meeting here. Also, people with ties with Epstein. So we have these likely pedos meeting together in secret with our politicians and stuff. We should have a right to know why they're doing this and what's being discussed.
Oh, Eric just said something. You said who's in the chat?
Oh, Jimmy Dore's in the chat. What's up, Jimmy?
Where?
He
I'm
donated.
behind.
Yeah,
Sorry.
he said Grim Job.
Hashtag Grim Job. Thanks for the super chat, Jimmy. I don't understand this at all. Like, this is very troubling.
Grim should be, people at the Intercept, they should be covering this, but they won't because they have some of their donors that meet here.
Exactly. So I'm going to play this video where you were questioning another person that was there. And I don't know if this is security or what, but Franco posted this on Twitter, the Bilderberg group henchmen, when you ask too many questions. So let's go ahead and share this.
At 2 o'clock, this is all going to be done. Everyone's going to leave at 2 o'clock.
Everyone's going to leave.
Like everybody in their scary vans, like everybody with their earpieces on, everybody that's inside the hotel right now that we're not allowed to go in to see. That's when all this is going to end at 2 o'clock today.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
So why are you here and why'd you ask me?
I'm waiting for
No, you're not.
your question. I was just trying to help you out.
It's all right. I know. Like you received instructions. Yeah, I am. Yeah. Why?
Yeah, why?
I mean, I want to find out what's going on here.
I don't know
Because,
what's going on either.
but why were you acting like? Why are you acting like you did know, or like at first?
I didn't. I was asking you because you looked like you were lost. I was just trying to help you out. I mean, I was just trying to be nice to you. That's all.
Okay. Do you work for the hotel or something? Like
I don't
how
work
would?
for the hotel.
So who do you work for?
None of your business.
Okay. See there
I was just
there you
trying to
go.
help you
All
out.
right.
It's okay. That's fine. Just
All right. Oh, you're asking too many questions. All right. Let me just roll up the window. All right. All right. Take care. Yeah. those guys in the vans were nicer, because they're not the ones that are on the ground there telling people to leave. Like the lady who I was speaking to in the first video you showed, her and the other security guards, they were being assholes to me and the other journalists that were there on the ground. It was, again, Josh Friedman was there. Doesn't have a big following, but people should check out his reporting on the issue. Max Blumenthal interviewed him. And another guy who was streaming with Josh was Luke, and I can't remember his last name. And there was another security, or not security guard, I guess there's security / chauffeurs that agreed with me that this isn't right, because I explained, these are politicians that are meeting, this directly affects us, the policies that are passed, like this directly affects us. And he was like, yeah, it's not right. And he's like, but what can I do? He's like, I'm just a driver. But yeah, they have like these non-disclosures and all that.
Right. So one of the people that was on that list, I'm going to show this one more time because I have something to say about
the hotel right now that we're not allowed to go in to see. That's when all this is going to end. I was just replaying.
Sorry, I didn't know what that was for a second. One of the people on this list that we do need to talk about, Reid Hoffman.
Reid Hoffman.
Yes. So for people just joining, Reid Hoffman was also at this event. He's a co-founder, Inflection, AI partner, Greylock. He is another venture capitalist. The problem with Reid Hoffman, and I'm going to start with this receipt here. So he actually donated to this organization called the People's House Project. And I'll show you here just how much he donated to them. So in 2018, $245,000. And then also in 2018, $5,000. Now, what's wrong with the People's House Project? This was also the same group that has been donating to Crystal Ball. And so, there's other people on here as well.
Yeah. And it's her PAC that she helped start also. And Reid Hoffman had a hand in New Knowledge as well. He funded New Knowledge, which was a think tank that was spreading a lot of misinformation about Russiagate and their connections with Trump and some of the other Republicans, and they got in trouble for spreading misinformation in the Alabama Senate race of 2018, and Reid Hoffman had to come out and apologize in embarrassment.
This is, and it's not just these two payments. I'm gonna scroll down and show you. Now, this is 2020. There's a donation from the People's House Project. Again, this is funded by Reid Hoffman, who is a billionaire. So why is a billionaire sending money through this project to Crystal Ball if they're supposed to be independent? And this is, again, what I was telling you guys before, how they do this. People will say they're independent, and it's like you have to follow the money all the way back to see where the money's really coming from. So regardless, you're still taking billionaire money. Even if they're not directly putting it in your hand, you're taking billionaire money. So there's those two payments there. And then if I scroll down, because you got to remember, Crystal Ball at one point ran for office. Let me go to the second page. I think it's the second page. He donates also to Act Blue. If I go up here, there's another payment, 2018, $416. There's another payment here, November 2018, $1,000. Again, this is all going to Crystal Ball. There's other people he's donated to as well, but I'm not so much concerned about those. I'm concerned about these donations that went to Crystal Ball because, again, if you say you're independent, then you're supposed to be independent. I'll go to the third page really quick because there was another one that I saw. Here we go again, 2018. Now this is in October, $14,500 donated to Crystal Ball. Here's another one here, $500, that same date, 2018. Like seeing Facebook, that doesn't surprise me. Facebook doesn't claim that they're independent, but it was really weird to see him. Here we go again, $3,290, October 2018. And there's more. Like, this list is long. I don't have time to go through the whole list. But Eric, could you put the link to this in the chat so people can see this as well? This is problematic. Like, this is a freaking problem. And then I want to show this one as well. And then I want to get your opinion, Franco. This one, other individual contributions. Again, Reid Hoffman, this is him. Look at who he usually donates to. Josh Gottheimer for Congress, Christina Bonahan for Congress, Liz Mathis for Congress, Tennessee Democratic Party, Democratic Party of Wisconsin Federal. I don't know why Tim Ryan's on here, but it says 0. That's weird. Ohio Democratic Party. The list goes on and on and on. So these are not progressive candidates. So this guy is donating to corporate Democrats. And then he's also donating to Crystal Ball, but he's doing it through a PAC, which she co-founded. I want to get your take on this, Franco.
Yeah, I'll start by asking everybody right now, how is Crystal Ball, and including Sagar and Jetty, who's from the Hudson Institute, how are these people independent media? And you hear a lot of their takes. Like, they have one foot in the establishment and the other foot they try to be outsiders. They want to present themselves as populists, but they're behaving just like all these other figures in mainstream news, wanting to maintain connections with these people that are in the establishment, and all these other people that are joining their network. They know about this. I'm sure they know about this, and they're okay with it. Jordan Sheraton's out there trying to say that, oh, this guy's like being a right winger. He's this person right here, Jimmy. He's trying to sheep herd people into the Republican Party, but here he is, okay with being a part of a network that has people from a neocon think tank, the Hudson Institute. I mean, at the very least, Crystal Ball, the last donation that she received was in 2020. She should, at the very least, be transparent with her audience and let them know, yeah, I received this money, but, I'm not doing that anymore. It's no longer influencing me. But she's not doing that. She's pretending like this never happened. She's not acknowledging it. Similar to how she doesn't acknowledge how she laughed about Julian Assange. Same thing with Sagar and Jetty. They laughed about information that was being spread by the mainstream media about Julian Assange being a slob at the Ecuadorian embassy in London, saying that, he wasn't showering, he was skateboarding, his cat was pooping everywhere, and then they laughed about it. I mean, they owe an apology to all the activists that are working to help free Julian Assange and help prevent him from getting sent to the U.S. But I don't see them behaving at all like true independent media. If you're truly independent, you would not be affiliated with these people like Reid Hoffman, who goes to meetings like the Bilderberg meeting.
Yes, let's all remember what Bernie Sanders' campaign was all about. The corruption with the money. You're not supposed to take big money. And look, if that's what you're doing, then just admit that. But don't get on your stream asking people to donate money to you and you're taking billionaire money. Like Reid Hoffman, this is not good news. This is not good news. Look him up. Look him up. And this isn't about like attacking someone per se. Some people are like, oh, you guys are just attacking. Like, no, I'm giving you receipts. And one of the things I talk about on this show a lot is the money and the class issue. And if there are people telling you that they are 100% independent and they're taking billionaire money, you need to know that.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, if you're independent media, you should be transparent with your audience about where your money's coming from.
Let me call this out. Rebel Poet, you wouldn't take money if they offered it to you? No, Rebel. In fact, I've had companies reach out to me for sponsorships and I've turned all of them down. I don't need to do that. Some of us actually want to help people in the community. We actually want to make a difference. We're not trying to get rich. That's the difference. Right.
We're supposed to be taking power away from these corporations. And so by doing that, we wouldn't receive money from them and we shouldn't buy from them. And I know that's difficult because a lot of people are really, we're really dependent on this system, unfortunately. But little by little, as communities grow stronger, we can be more reliant on each other and less reliant on these corporations that are oppressing us. So yeah, things like mutual aid, getting closer with your community, growing your own food, having homeschooling programs, all that stuff. I know that Revolutionary Blackout Network and Sabby Sabs discussed that on their shows.
It's one of those things where it's just like, how are you going to tell people these people are corrupt? No, you shouldn't take their money, and you taking their money. Like, how are you going to tell? Come on. Like, it's not cool. But the point of this conversation is to bring it back to the fact that this meeting happened. It was a secret meeting. You all should know about it. You should know exactly who was at this meeting and what they're planning to do. And that is important for you to know. And you need to ask yourself, why is mainstream media not talking about this?
It's not like they weren't there. We see, where is she? Ann Applebaum, staff writer from The Atlantic. Why is The Atlantic not talking about it? They had their own, they had a staff writer there. And the editor from The Economist was there.
Right. So, like, honestly, had it not been for the videos I saw from you and Max Blumenthal, I can play Max's video really quick too, that I saw from you and Max Blumenthal, I don't know if I would have heard about this. See, that's the thing. That's why independent media is so important.
Absolutely. Yeah, and then the politicians that present themselves as being outsiders, as trying to fight the system, they should also be calling this out, but they're not. The squad's not calling this out. I'm sure they know about it. I'm sure they like their colleague Kirsten Sinema is there.
Yep.
Easy for them to call her out on that, but they're not going to do it.
I'll pull up the one from Max Blumenthal as well. Or Eric, can you do you follow Max on Twitter? Can you find that really quick? It should be easy to find if you just go to his page and go to media. And I'll call out some of these comments here. Habibba. I hope I said that correctly. Such a shame that other YouTube leftists haven't mentioned this list. It's just like everyone should be talking about it. Cryptician, this is excellent detective work right here. More of this is badly needed in multiple sectors of political and government operations. Marnarch says some of the folks in that list must clearly be direct donors to cinema. That would make sense. That would make sense. Thank you for the super chat, AJF. Succinctly, many in our localities, and especially at the federal level, we don't have a democracy. We have a hybrid, oligarchical, plutocratic, autocratic, technocratic, labor-based kleptocracy. Kleptocracy. I hope I said that right. Bam. Thank you so much for the super chat. Ad Kid, salute Franco for continuing his channel and educating us on empire. Thanks, Sabby, for bringing him on. And
thanks, Ad Kid.
Yeah. Thank you for this super chat, AJF. The mainstream media gaslight and lie by omission. And I see Colin's here as well. Thank you for the super chat, Colin. Cancel your Breaking Points donations now.
Like any news that you can get from Breaking Points, you can get a better version of that coverage from other channels or from other journalists. So I don't see the point in still listening to them if you do. Not that I'm telling you guys what to do, but I think, like, I personally find myself to be more informed by not listening to them.
Yeah, and Indy Left will be here tomorrow night, and he's going to talk about that article that they just wrote about the money. I do want to share this video. Now, this is the one from Max Blumenthal.
That's Josh Friedman. That's the guy I saw on the ground.
Okay. Oh, yeah. Why did it move? This does this sometimes. Okay, so here we go. So this is Josh Friedman here with the book bag.
Yeah, okay. That's him. Yeah, I'm surprised Max got really far in beyond the gate because they were, I guess in response to what he did, they were more protective when I was there. I couldn't get anywhere near that.
Okay, let's see what Max says.
How you doing?
Oh, so this is the front of the hotel. Okay.
It's where people can come and drop off other people. It's like the main entrance that I saw was like on the other side.
Yeah.
So this is one of the entrances.
Max, is there an issue or?
Yeah, do you have
do I need a lanyard to go to see reservations? I need to, so no entry inside for the Bilderberg meeting of national security and big tech elites meeting in secret to discuss Ukraine. Who's meeting in there?
I have no idea.
You don't know who you're doing security for?
I have no idea. They don't need to know.
Okay. So they don't even tell you who you're working for?
We have no idea.
So that's how secretive the Bilderberg meeting is?
I have no idea what even Bilderberg is.
He knows.
So none of you know who's inside? It's not a meeting of national security and big tech elites to discuss Ukraine and the global economy off the record?
Wow. 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 This is crazy.
Or
Why do they have a
allegedly,
canine?
everyone
Yeah.
from Peter Thiel to members of the National Security Council, NATO officials, big tech people, like even possibly Elon Musk is in there. They refuse to say. They're meeting completely off the record. No one is allowed to quote anyone in there. This is where people are saying they're meeting.
Yeah, I think
They wouldn't even let him come inside the building.
No. You see like up like where it says Mandarin Oriental, like right above that, you see that fence. That's where I was with that one lady security. At one point, I came back around and she wasn't there, and I went through and I played this clip on my channel on my stream on Sunday. I made it past her and I saw some staff that were sitting outside in like a courtyard on some chairs. It was like a white guy, a white girl, and this Indian man. And like I was asking them, I was like, "What are you guys doing here? Who do you guys work for?" And then they were like, "We can't tell you anything. We can't tell you that." And then they immediately went inside, and security came, and they forced me out.
You guys hear this? How many of you have jobs and you can't tell anybody? Like, this is crazy.
I think that now that more people are becoming aware of this, because prior to this, the only people that would talk about the Bilderberg group meetings were people like Alex Jones in that circle. And there are some nuggets of truth in what Alex Jones puts out, but then he misdirects people and he takes things like out of proportion. But now that more people are becoming aware of this, journalists like Max Blumenthal, other people who are there on the ground like Josh Friedman and myself, we should be more alert next time and look to see where the next meeting is going to be, and we should organize and protest outside of those meetings. We should spread more awareness to people, because if more people knew about this, they would be outraged by this. Even that co-host that constantly defends establishment narratives on the Hill, on the Hill's Rising. I can't remember his name. The blonde guy who's Kim Iverson's co-host. Not Ryan Grimm, but the other guy. Yeah. Even he was like, I don't think this is okay. Why are they meeting in secret? Like even some like liberals and other people that believe in this system would not be okay with this.
No. But this is what I was trying to point to people is like, see how they can just come together like that. It doesn't matter if they're Democrat or Republican. This is all about money. They can do it. But we can't. But Franco, we're not allowed to march for Medicare for all with people who are not on the left, as if they don't need health care too.
It's unbelievable. But it's perfectly okay to work with people from neocon think tanks on breaking points. Right, Jordan? Right, David Sirota? Right, Ryan Grimm? Like, you guys are okay with working with breaking points with these people.
Wow. Well, Franco, thank you so much for coming on. I really appreciate it.
I appreciate you bringing me on. This is an important conversation, and you do great coverage. Everybody else, now that you guys know about this, get the word out. Sabrina, thank you very much for having me on. You're doing great work.
Thanks, Franco. You too. Talk to you
Bye.
later. All right, guys. Whew. That was a nugget right there. Like, we gotta let people know about this. This is crazy. This is crazy. Thank you so much for the super chat, Troy Z and KC. What if someone had a drone flying over meetings? I don't know. That would be interesting. And thank you for this super chat, Net Rondo. Bilderberg uses Chatham House rules. You can disclose discussions, but no identities. Interesting. Thank you so much for that as well. All right, we're going to go ahead and go into our next story here. So if you are not aware, if you haven't seen this, AOC actually recently has made a statement about how she feels about Congress. So I'm going to play this video, and then I'm going to tell you my opinion about it. And then I want to play a clip from last year, actually, from Afeni when she came on, and she talks about her discussion that she had with AOC in person. And I think that's important for you to see. So here we go here. This is from The Hill, Representative AOC. It's just really wild to be a person that works in a career. Actually, I'll just play it for you. Shoot. Anyway, but The Hill shared this. And so listen to this.
It's just really wild to be a person that works in a corrupt institution, which is what Congress is. And to try and be a normal person surrounded by so much decay and moral emptiness that frankly transcends party is very difficult. I was up until 5 o'clock in the morning last night. I could not sleep thinking about those babies.
Okay. Let me chime in here for a second. Let's walk through this together.
It's just really wild to be a person that works in a corrupt institution, which is what Congress is.
So she's admitting that Congress is corrupt. I don't know if she got some type of permission to make this video or whatever from Congress, but she's admitting that Congress is corrupt. And yes, it is. That's what we've been telling you. Now you're hearing it from someone on the inside who's still there. Because a lot of times when you hear this from people that have served in Congress, it's usually after they have already left. So for example, except for like Cynthia McKinney, she was really vocal when she was in, but you'll hear people say these things like after they leave, but she's saying this while she's in right now.
And to try and be a normal person surrounded by so much decay and moral emptiness that frankly transcends party.
There you go. So she said, surrounded by moral emptiness that transcends party. So that means what we've been telling you over and over again. It doesn't matter if they're Republican or they're Democrat. The moral reasons, they're just not there. They don't care. It's all about what helps their corporate donors. Corporate interests come first. So I've been saying that. RBN has been saying that. Hard Lens has been saying that. Franco has said that. Actually, everyone at MCSC has said that. Jimmy Dore has said that. Multiple people have been telling you that. Now you are hearing it from someone who is a progressive in Congress saying the same thing that we've been saying. Same thing.
Is very difficult. I was up until 5 o'clock in the morning last night. I could not sleep thinking about those babies.
What babies? Which babies is she talking about? Are we talking about the babies at the border? Because the tears for that went away after Trump lost. There's still kids at the border in cages. Just want to remind everyone. Are we talking about the babies abroad? Ukraine, Russia, Somalia, Yemen, Afghanistan? Which babies are we talking about? So either she's like honestly just figured this out now, or she's acting. Which I said this before, when she was down at the border and she was weeping the way that she was acting. It was all performative. The cameras were there, all performative. How many of them have gone down to the border and cried since Joe Biden took office? How many of them crying? Where's those tears for the kids that are still in the cages? Where's the tears? It's just acting to me. Now, Margaret Kimberly, she had a good point here and she called this out. It's just really wild to be a person that works in a corrupt institution, which is what Congress is. If AOC believes that she should fight for us, this little tantrum is insulting. Fight for us and dare them to get rid of you. Otherwise, just shut up. I just want to give a round of applause for Miss Margaret Kimberly because well said, well said. If you know that the institution that you are a part of is corrupt, has moral decay, and it transcends party, which means it doesn't matter if you're a Democrat or Republican, and you really want to create change for the people, then why would you stay in the institution? Why would you? What kind of message does this send to all the progressive candidates that are running through the Democratic Party right now? What does this say to them? What does this tell them when you have someone who's as popular as AOC, who is one of the progressives that made it in, that got through? Even she is saying it's corrupt and there's moral decay. So what kind of hope does that give them? And this is what I was telling people before. The reason why we are against this strategy, this inside game strategy with putting progressives through the Democratic Party, is because the people that we have that have gone in, members of the squad, have not been a good example. They really haven't. Now, I want to take you back. Let's go back in time. You know, Afeni was on here last year. Now, Afeni, like Franco and Max Blumenthal, she's in DC, so she gets to see a lot of these, direct action events that happen, whether it's at the Capitol, whether it's at the White House. She sees a lot of these things on the ground. Afeni was there when AOC and Cori Bush and other members of the squad protested against the eviction moratorium. Now, we all know that was performative, and I can get into all of that another time, but there was something that AOC said to Afeni that I want you to hear. Now, the reason why AOC spoke to Afeni is because Afeni wasn't filming. She was one of the only ones that didn't have a camera out. Franco approached her. Max Blumenthal approached her. Max Blumenthal was able to get an answer from Cori Bush. That was about force the vote. Cori Bush told him that was Pramila Jayapal and Bernie Sanders' bill. I've talked about that on here often, actually. But even after that, she was kind of taken away from Max Blumenthal after that, right? But I want you to listen to what Afeni says about what AOC said to her about us actually creating change. Listen to this.
The action of the Capitol, of course, all of you know, like Cori Bush was slept out there first, and it kind of built into a small grassroots movement out here in DC. And we got a lot of one-on-one time with pretty much all the members of the squad. Me personally, I spent most of my time talking to AOC and Cori Bush. All of my conversations with AOC were Most of them are very substantive. I'm not gonna lie. Like, I talked to her a lot about organizing. I talked to her a lot about like her time in Congress. I talked to her a lot about building power outside of the Democratic Party. If we are still gonna use electoral politics as a tactic to get the policies and the things that we want. Like, how do we build power outside of the Democratic Party so that we can actually actually disagree with the Democratic Party openly and not have to play by their rules? Because AOC and the squad get thrown under the bus every single time the Democrats feel like, something about their platform isn't working. For some reason, it's our fault because we're fighting for working class people as leftists. Every single time. So I asked her, I said, like, how do you work with people that don't respect you and don't respect your policy positions and your principles? Like, how do you do it? And basically, she was telling me that many times she's thought about leaving Congress to become a grassroots organizer because a lot of the changes that we want to see need to be built in outside infrastructures, like the way the Congress is set up, the way the procedures are set up, the way that the rules and decorum and the respectability that is forced upon members in Congress. She basically told me that if we want to build power, we have to organize outside of the government. Literally, like, that's the most important thing that we can do. Is
what was that? Come again? Again, this was what AOC told Afeni. So where am I? 824? All right, let me see if that.
Like, how do you do it? And basically, she was telling me that many times she's thought about leaving Congress to become a grassroots organizer because a lot of the changes that we want to see need to be built in outside infrastructures, like the way the Congress is set up, the way the procedures are set up, the way that the rules and decorum and the respectability that is forced upon members in Congress. She basically told me that if we want to build power, we have to organize outside of the government. Literally, like, that's the most important thing that we can do is organize outside of the government. And
hold on, Afeni.
Okay.
Can you say, we just have some people join. Can you say that last line one more time? What AOC said to you?
Oh, she said that she had thought a couple times about leaving Congress because most of the change that we want to see will happen outside of the government. Like, we have to organize outside of the government.
What have we been telling you? And we were saying that before AOC said that to Afeni. That's coming from someone who's on the inside. If you want to see actual change, you have to organize outside of the government. This is why we've been trying to wake people up to this. This is what we've been trying to tell you. They're not going to do anything through that two-party system in DC that does not support corporate interests. That's how it works. That's how they keep getting their seats back. That's how it works. So I hate to say I told you so, but I told you so, because they're not going to do anything for us. They're really not. And now you had somebody who's in Congress say the same thing. So after hearing that, and after hearing her say what she just said about how it's corrupt and it transcends party, why would you still believe that you can change it from the inside through the Democratic Party? Money controls it all. Money is on the outside, but it's also on the inside. You see what I mean? Because they're bought and they're paid for. They own the freaking party. So even if you're a grassroots candidate and you make it in, it doesn't matter because the party is owned by Wall Street. I mean, if I wanted to use this as like a sports analogy, bear with me. I'm not great at these like JB is. JB's better at this than me. But if I want to think about sports, I mean, look at a team like the Celtics. You think about the Celtics, how we were before we got Kyrie. Kyrie coming in was supposed to be like this big game changer, right? He helped a lot. Then he got injured. That season, we went on almost made it to the finals without Kyrie. Didn't quite get there. Didn't quite get there. But what you have to understand is that a team like the Celtics, when you're going through a rebuilding moment, you have to rebuild the team, right? So they try to bring new people in, trade other people, and they say, this time, this is going to be our year, and we're going to get to the finals. Let me tell you the difference. The reason why it doesn't work with politics is because even when you have new people come into Congress and some others retire, and I beg to differ even on that one, because you have people in Congress, Dianne Feinstein is talking about she's going to run again. Really? Some of them won't even leave their seats. But when you have people come into Congress and people leave and new people come in, the reason why you can't change it the way that you can change and improve the Boston Celtics is because the Celtics, the NBA, allows free agency. The Democratic Party does not. That's the difference. It's controlled by Wall Street. It's controlled by Goldman Sachs. It's controlled by Wells Fargo. It's controlled by Apple Inc. It's controlled by big tech. It's controlled by bankers. It's all controlled. So even if you have a coach that's in the Democratic Party, that's in the House, they can't really make any real decisions that are going to bring about change because they don't own the team. So if you were to compare that to sports, that's the difference. That's the difference. When the owner and the coach, they make these agreements together and they say, yeah, let's trade Kyrie. Let's bring in so-and-so. Let's get rid of this guy. Let's bring in that guy. They're able to work together and reach a decision that's going to be best for the team. The Democratic Party, the Republican Party, all of DC, when they get together, they don't really get to make any real decisions because the people that control those two parties are both corporate. It's the corporations that control it. So even the people that say that they have all this power and they have these leadership positions, they don't really have that much power. They're controlled too. Now, Misty, she said something here in response to AOC's video, and I think this is a really good response. Now, this again is in response to that video where she just talked about how Congress is corrupt. So Misty called it out, voted to expand NATO, voted to fund Iron Dome, voted for CARES Act, voted for $40 billion to Ukraine, deferred to caucus leadership on a coup, voted to give cops more money, wouldn't fight for Medicare for all in a pandemic because $15 an hour was more doable, didn't fight for that either. So essentially, what Misty is pointing out here is that even though AOC says Congress is corrupt, she says this as though she's not a part of the corruption. And what Misty is pointing out to you here is that she is very much a part of that same corruption. That's the problem. So that's that. I'm going to get to some of these comments in just a second. Thank you so much for the super chat, Andrew. My district has a Dem primary between a corporate Democrat incumbent and a Democrat that has been a Republican till 5 minutes ago. And it's expected to flip to the Republicans in the general. Help. You see how this goes? Thank you for the super chat, Andrew. Thank you for the super chat, AJF. Oligarch kick call and kleptocracy. LOL. I sincerely hope these are not all like abbreviations. I know you tried to get me with this last night, but thank you so much for the super chat. John says you and Jimmy shows are the only watchable shows on YouTube. Oh, thank you for that, John. I think you should also check out, Franco was just here. Check out Frank Analysis Show. Also check out Hard Lens. They do really great work. RBN, Revolutionary Black Network. I'm a part of that group as well. So definitely check those out too. Thank you for the super chat, Colin. When Franco and I confronted the squad at the Capitol, she made no mention of this to the crowd, probably because there were cameras on her. Yes, that was exactly, if you guys want to see that video, you can watch it. I actually don't know what I did with the link. Oh yeah. Eric, can you put the link to that video in the chat? During that interview with Afeni, she does go on later on to say that, like, that was part of the problem, was that they didn't have, Afeni didn't have a camera, but anybody that came up to them with cameras, they didn't want that. JB's here. My comrade JB from RBN says, great analogy, Sabs. Oh, thanks, JB. I'm not good with them like you. Like, you have the best analogies. Okay. Yeah, thanks so much for that, Eric. Guys, don't forget to hit that like button. That really helps me with the algorithm. CJ's so much better at that than me. Like, CJ will have a count up and he'll say, we have this many people watching. We have this many likes. Like, he's really good at that. Thank you for the super chat, AJF. The elites do not want to have to deal with the coalition of the left-right masses. It's a psychological fear for them. I agree. I agree. Okay. Let's go ahead to these comments on Rockfin, and then I want to get into our next story. All right. Thank you so much for the tip on Rockfin, Roger Meadows. Sab looking like a proud mom with a tear in her eye, watching her only daughter that made it. Congrats. What is natural for me is to automatically look at the ingredients. I've been doing that since I was a teenager. If you can't pronounce it, don't 6 letter of the alphabet with it. Instead of a whoop whoop, can I get a progressive? Oh no, you're trying to get me to do it again. I did that last night, you guys. I was like, progressive. Thank you for this tip as well. Well. Who do we see at the heart of all at the hotel? The corporation and big banks. Diminish Wall Street power via public banks and replace corporations around the world with worker co-ops. Also, catch you later getting on the Zoom with Stu regarding the National Infrastructure Bank. Hope you contact to give him Alphika and Angela Vulo that interview, Sab. Okay, I have to look at that again. Also, her name is Kurtzy Enema, not Kirsten Cinema. Oh gosh, you guys are brutal. You guys are brutal. All right, let's get to this next story. So I do like to read some articles on Substack, and I do like to read articles by Matt Taibbi, also Chris Hedges, Glenn Greenwald. But I like Matt Taibbi's articles because I feel like he gets straight to the point. And I like that because I have to read pretty quickly. But Matt Taibbi had an article. Now, this is recent. Actually, it was 22 hours ago. And he's talking about Democrats and Republicans and where they stand on free speech. And so recently, I have heard people say that Democrats are no longer pro free speech and Republicans are for free speech. And Matt Taibbi actually debunks that in this article, because he explains to you how both parties are actually against free speech. So let's go ahead and get into that. You move this over here. Okay, and so the title of this article is Democrats and Republicans have one thing in common. Both suck on free speech. It's great that fire is expanding and speech has a national champion again. It's depressing as hell that Democrats have joined Republicans in abandoning free expression. So let's get into this, you guys. The Foundation for Individual Rights and Education, this is also known as FIRE, announced a major $75 million campaign to boost free expression today. The move places the longtime agitator against campus speech codes in a role historically occupied by the American Civil Liberties Union, or ACLU. Since its founding in 1920, but particularly since its famed 1976 defense of neo-Nazi marchers in Skokie, Illinois, the ACLU has been a face of American liberalism, but shifted in recent years as its once definitional issue. Free speech is increasingly cast out of the Democratic Party mainstream. Now, I want to pop out here for just a second to explain something. The reason why people are talking about this a lot more now and calling Democrats out for this, a couple of things have happened. There's been a lot of censorship on some of these platforms, including the one I'm on right now, YouTube. So you've had content creators talking about this, and we have someone in power, Joe Biden, who is a Democrat. They have the House, they have the Senate, and they're the ones that are implementing a lot of the censorship. They don't want you to say this. You can't talk here. You can't go to these places. So people are starting to see, wait a minute, maybe some of these liberals are not as pro-speech as we thought. So that's why this is coming up now. But again, Matt's going to point to that this really is not just one-sided, that both parties are guilty of this. So let's go back into the article here. Fire's expansion is great news for speech advocates, but likely wouldn't have been necessary had attitudes towards speech not changed dramatically among liberal academics and among the ACLU's primary donors, traditional Democrats. Moreover, it's not as simple as free speech moving now from being a blue value to a red one. What's actually happened is far worse. Tossed over by the blues, speech has been left without a consistent principal champion on either side of the political aisle. As both parties have doubled or tripled down on the most idiotic forms of censorship lately, albeit in different ways. The Democrats' collapse on speech is especially tragic because Republicans have almost always been terrible on this issue, and weirdly still are now. Even when so many of their voters are primary targets of content moderation schemes and domestic terrorism legislation clearly aimed at its base. For decades, you could set your watch by the Republican embrace of censorship. There was nearly always a Republican poll in the vicinity of any campaign against unpopular speech, be it Al D'Amato and Jesse Helms taking on Andre Serrano's Piss Christ, or Congressman Bob Ney and Walter Jones trying in total seriousness to ban the French half of what they demanded the House cafeteria call freedom fries. Or even George W. Bush saying freedom is a two-way street and they shouldn't have their feelings hurt just because some people don't want to buy their records, after protesters drove tractors over piles of CDs by the Dixie Chicks. Let's talk about that for just a second. I don't know, again, the age group of everyone in the chat, but some of you may remember the Dixie Chicks. The Dixie Chicks. The Dixie Chicks, if you are not aware, they were a country music band. I like to say band, not group, because they played instruments. They were very talented. It was 3 women. 2 of them were sisters. The other one was a friend. And they were able to take country music. They had like this unique twang style, but they were able to make it more hip and modern. And they were huge. And I don't know if everyone remembers them, but at that time, at the height of their success, everybody was jamming to the Dixie Chicks. It didn't matter if you liked country music or not. It didn't matter if you were white. It didn't matter if you were black. Like, they found a way to connect with everyone. Then they made a statement about George W. Bush. W was kind of not at his best at that point in time. The economy was a little shaky. And they made a statement saying that they wish that he wasn't from Texas, because that's where they were from. Now, you got to remember the time period. At that time, that did not go over well with people. If you say something like that today, people were like, whatever. But at the time, it did not go over well. Not only did it not go over well with people, but people were calling to have them canceled. And I mean really canceled. To the point where, like Matt mentioned in that article, people were running over their CDs. People were telling them to shut up and sing, just shut up and sing. They weren't allowed to have an opinion, apparently. This is all true, by the way. You think about it now, it's like, holy crap, how did they get away with the things they said to them? And just like that, their sales went down. They had difficulty booking shows. Even Toby Keith came out against them. He was another country artist, by the way. But when I talk about someone being canceled, I know people say Dave Chappelle was canceled. Dave Chappelle's not canceled. He's still able to do shows. He'll be fine. The Dixie Chicks were actually canceled. When I tell you they weren't able to book shows, they weren't able to book shows. This went on for a while. Now, I know that they did come out with new music later on, but their new music never reached the same height of success that their previous music did. And it was because the American public had pretty much decided we are going to cancel the Dixie Chicks. And just like that, they were done. So they were canceled. Cameron X says, I remember this. Okay, so I see some of you in the chat do remember. Yeah, Notori said it was 10 years blackballed. Yep. Canceled. So, yeah. And they were amazing artists. Even if you don't like country music, I felt like people that didn't like country music could still appreciate the Dixie Chicks because they were just freaking talented. They're talented. So that did happen, and it came from the right. They were the ones that wanted them canceled. And just like that, they were gone. Let's go back into the article here. This script by all rights should have flipped once campuses, the executive ranks of internet companies, and federal agencies like Joe Biden's CDC began pushing increasingly draconian censorship concepts to deplatform right-wing or conservative ideas. One would think that at least out of rank opportunism, the GOP would get religion on speech principles. No such luck. Instead, having had years in the political wilderness to stew over the problem, the red response to new left sinceriousness has often instead come via unoriginal or equally batty attempts at legislative bans. Is the best they can do? Question mark there. Examples are everywhere. From a North Carolina bill demanding school workers report kids to their parents for gender nonconformity, to Florida's so-called Stop Woke Act, which would essentially prohibit teachers from espousing opinions in line with the state's interpretation of critical race theory, to Virginia lawmakers trying to force Barnes and Nobles to stop selling books like Gender Queer on obscenity grounds. The latter is an almost exact parallel to the furious, wrong-headed, and partially successful efforts to get Amazon to stop advertising and distributing the controversial Abigail Shrier book, Irreversible Damage. Though there are exceptions among individual politicians, neither party has stood behind a platform of defending speech on principle, irrespective of content. We seem headed towards a zero-sum landscape, with Dems cheering when they're in the censor's chair and whining when a perceived antagonist like Elon Musk threatens to buy one back, while conservatives drop the hammer once they have a seat of control, for instance, a state house. The worst of all possible worlds would see speech policy added to the long list of under-publicized areas of near total consensus between the two parties, like military spending, bank bailouts, corporate taxation, and warrantless surveillance. We're almost there. This is remarkable because until very recently, unwavering support of free speech was at the core of what it meant to be a Democrat. Not a leftist or a progressive radical, but specifically a Democrat in the broadest, most milquetoast sense of the word. Looking back, it's breathtaking to see how quickly the blue party turned all the way around on this issue. Let me come out for just a second. I hope you guys like listening to me read. Anywho, it's like we've gone backwards. Like free speech, the point that he's trying to point out in that article, that didn't used to be like a radical thing. That was a Democrat thing. If you were a Democrat, you were pro free speech. We don't have that anymore. But he also points out the fact that that doesn't mean, though, that the Republicans are now pro speech. Although some of them I know have had those talking points recently, especially Ron DeSantis. But even with them, they're not really pro free speech either, because it seems like both parties are pro free speech about the issues that they approve of you to talk about. When it's issues that they don't want you to talk about, they're not free speech. That's really what it's about. What benefits them? What benefits the party? What benefits their narrative? And anything outside of that, they want to try to censor it. And it doesn't matter who's in office. Anything outside of that establishment narrative, nowadays, they want to censor it. So when you think about free speech and you think about censorship in this country, I feel like we're actually moving backwards. I feel like we had more freedom of speech before than we do now. That's the sad part. And especially now that there's more social media, there's so many tech companies, now they have really buckled down on that. Every other month is a new rule. I get these updates, these emails from YouTube. Every other month, we've updated our policy. We've updated our terms of service. I get the same thing from Google. Always changing things. There's certain things you can't talk about. I told you before, certain things I can't talk about on this platform. So we're not progressing when it comes to free speech. And I've said this before and I'll say it again. You don't have to agree with everything that people say, but they should have the right to be able to say it. They should have the right to be able to express themselves. And we've gotten to this point now with all these different types of censorship. People shouldn't have to go onto multiple platforms just because they want to talk about one particular issue, which a lot of the times I don't even think these issues are controversial, but YouTube will say that they are because it doesn't fit the establishment narrative. So this is something that we need to pay close attention to. So what I like about this article, I'm not going to read the entire article because then you're not going to read it. But what I like about this article is that he is telling you that both parties are not free speech. And so I'm glad that he's saying that, because I have been hearing these words from people, and I do just want to express this. Please do not think that just because right now it's Democrats that are in power and they're trying to do more censorship and put a lockdown on free speech, please do not think that that means that Republicans are 100% pro free speech, because that is not the case. If that were the case, they wouldn't be trying to put these rules and laws in place to stop people from protesting. So that's just something to think about. So that is from Matt Taibbi. Eric, can you put that article in the chat when you get a chance? Really great article. Again, this is Democrats and Republicans have one thing in common. Both suck on free speech. And that's by Matt Taibbi. So definitely follow him on Substack. Check that out. Pretty cool things, man. Pretty cool things. I will start back writing articles again on Substack probably next week. I know I've said this like every other week, but I just get so busy. Probably next week. I know some of you reached out to me, asked me when I was going to do that again. So I will be doing that, getting back to that soon. Some of them will be free articles. Some of them you would have to like pay for. That's usually how it works on Substack. For those of you who are new, make sure you sign up for my newsletter. That's actually how I send out my notifications for my live streams. So you can't really rely on the notification bell on YouTube to notify you. I've been told that by multiple of you, by the way, have told me you're not getting notifications. So that's why I have that as a backup. So definitely sign up for that. It should be pinned to the top of the live chat. You just click on the link and enter your email address, and that's it. You don't have to fill out a form or any of that. It's all done. UG Magazine, Matt Taibbi has written some great articles, but he's also a vote blue no matter who Democrat if I'm not mistaken. I don't know about that. I'd have to check. I would have to check. There's some comments here I think I need to get to. Thank you for the super chat, AJF. AOC should be credited for saying it at least as a person inside that carries more weight, but at the end of the day, without action, it's rhetorical. AOC, bam. Oh, without action, it's rhetorical, AOC. Bam. Thank you so much for that. Cryptician says neither party has stood behind a platform of defending speech on principle, irrespective of content. There you go. Jared says censorship has been getting worse and worse for the last 5 years. I agree. Guys, I've had friends kicked off of Facebook for things that weren't even, in my opinion, were not worth being kicked off for. Like, it's anything now. Thank you for the super chat, Troy Z and KC. Have you heard Tennessee made homelessness a felony? Someone was telling me about that. I need to look into that story. But someone did send that message my way. And Eric said, no, Taibbi wrote that he couldn't bring himself to vote for Biden. Okay. Yeah, that's good to know. Yeah, I wasn't sure. So that is that. Wow, it's a lot of people watching, huh? Just checked it out. Aziz said both parties are pro. My type is free speech only. Basically. All right, guys. I will be back tomorrow. Indy Left is going to be here. He's going to go over the story that they broke over at Indy Left News. Great article. I'll link it tomorrow too. So if you want to read it beforehand, you could do that. But they've done some really good reporting over there. So he's going to come talk about where the money factors into some of these networks. And I think you need to know about this. So he's going to come talk about that. That should be fun. And yeah, that's all I have right now, guys. So thanks so much for hanging out with me tonight. Don't forget to hit that like button. I'm really not as good at that as CJ. CJ has that down, man. I just be like, man, whatever. But peace out, guys, and have a good night. Go Celtics. Have a good night. Keep up the fight.